Episode 233. Isn't that a great number? Why, almost adds up to, well, not quite 10, but that is a significant number. You'll find out right now from Zimbabwe.
Yep, we got 10 vinyl record albums from my dwindling collection of vinyl. So today, what I'll start with is one of my favorite bands from a while back, Dan Hicks and the Hot Licks. Where's the Money? Great songs on this album. And you know, Americana type music, right? Kind of respect for the past and then themes that were up to date. He was a great player. Got to see him. I have a great photograph that I got lucky on, took of him, and his producer bought the picture from me, so that was pretty cool. Wow. I Feel Like Singing, By Hook or By Crook, Coast to Coast, News from Up the Street. The Hot Licks, the backup singers are great harmonies. Think of Maria Moldauer, you know, that kind of feel. We got as a student at Cal Poly, Riverside wasn't that far away from Pomona. Okay, my grandmother lived in San Bernardino, and Riverside used to be pretty much the center of the California citrus industry. Okay, Sunkist, a lot of other growers out there that, you know, gradually disappeared over time. But Riverside is an old town. The Mission Inn is a pretty interesting place. That's where I had my very first radio broadcasting job. KDUO in Riverside, and I was employed for a little over 2.5 hours because the station manager happened to be listening when I put a Frank Zappa album on, and I didn't think he would even be awake, but he was. So he gave me the Donald Trump line, you know, you're fired. And so the pay wasn't that good anyway, you know, I wasn't cut out for that kind of life. But anyway, Riverside, This guy's from Riverside, Rod Piazza and the Mighty Flyers. Great band. Piano player, Debbie Honey Alexander. I used to babysit for her kids. Okay. Maya and Zoe. And this is a great album. Old style blues, a lot of heart playing the albums titled Heartburn, HARPBURN, not the Roy Orbison type. And then along the same lines, we've got another harmonica dominant blues band. It's the James Harmon Band. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of this.
Yeah, heard of him. Yeah.
Okay. Title of this album is Extra Napkins, and as a kind of an added bonus, let's see. Oh, look what I found. Look what I found inside this jacket. Okay, I should have taken better care of it, but like we had parties at my house and we played the records. Extra napkins. There you go. Extra napkins. I'm glad he didn't name it after some famous feminine hygiene product. Okay, that's all I gotta say.
There's the famous Alice Cooper record that came with girls' panties.
Yeah,
oh, really?
I had that album.
That wasn't a Tom Jones album?
Nope, it was School's Out. And
really?
72. That was my first cassette purchase.
I love that.
You didn't get the panties.
No panties. I was only 12. It would have confused me.
How did you get panties in a record album? I don't know. Were they made of paper or were they cloth?
Yeah, no, they were paper panties, and they were fit around the album. And...
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah.
Okay, we got one of my favorite vocalists right here, Aretha Franklin. What can you say? Sorry to hear that she apparently her estate is still in litigation. Apparently, I mean, it's a big old fight. When did this album come out? Sometime in the 1967.
That album almost didn't get made.
Really? Tell me about it.
Well, her and a husband and a band member got in a fight, and then the Rick Hall and Muscle Shoals tried to sue things over, and they fell apart, and he disappeared, and Aretha then went after him, and the record company didn't hear from her for a while.
Really?
And they finally went to New York and brought the players up to New York and finished the album.
Cool. Who do they think they were? Ike and Tina Turner?
Her husband was a real jerk, I guess. Ted White.
Detroit, I mean, think about the music that came out of that city, you know,
Oh, yeah.
just really distinctive. And Aretha Franklin
Yeah.
was part of that. And speaking of Detroit, this is on the other side of the ocean, so it doesn't really have anything to do with Detroit. This is one of my favorite albums.
Uh,
Okay, yeah.
Okay, here's the titles. Ruby Tuesday, Have You Seen Your Mother Baby, Standing in the Shadow. I like that title. Let's Spend the Night Together, Lady Jane, Out of Time, My Girl, Backstreet Girl, Please Go Home, Mother's Little Helper, Take It or Leave It, Ride On Baby, and Sitting on a Fence. That's a great album. This is a great album. Another one that I'm sure you guys have probably heard the most famous song off of this one. This is The Crazy World of Arthur Brown.
Oh,
oh
yeah.
yeah, that was a great album.
It is a great album. He was quite a performer. I don't know if I could say he's ahead of his time, but he was part of that bring a real show to a rock and roll concert crowd.
Yeah.
You know, Roy Wood, who used to be with Electric Light Orchestra, went that way when he formed the band Wizard. Of course, Alice Cooper and, you know, several others. The Tubes.
Yeah.
They brought the whole show. The Plasmatics, actually, too.
Yeah.
In a sort of a different way, you know. Yeah, it's not very often that you get to go to the Whiskey a Go-Go and see a lead female singer wearing nothing but electrical tape on the top, and she's got a sledgehammer and a car on the stage that she just beats the crap out of, with a like a real fireworks, real explosive materials that you put into the car on the stage, and there was stuff flying all around in there. Okay. On the other side of the spectrum, sort of, we have another one of my favorite albums. One of the people who follows our podcast here posted a picture of this album, the Chambers Brothers. Okay. Time Has Come Today. Okay, everybody knows that song. But my favorite song of this album has to be Going Uptown. And this is a band with a gospel past, okay? Going uptown to Harlem, gonna make my way down to Harlem. If I can't get a ticket, I'm gonna take a train. He's gonna get to Harlem any way he can, okay? That's the narrator. To me, that's really, really symbolic of somebody who's motivated to make progress. No matter what it's gonna take to get from here to where he wants to go, that's what he's gonna do. He's gonna get there by any means necessary. And I love the message in that song. I got to hear this band without seeing them in concert because I heard that they were playing with another band they were opening up for a band called Journey. I don't know if you guys have heard of them, at the Golden West Ballroom in Norwalk, California in 1972 or 73. So we
I
stood
got
outside
to
of
see
the
them at
stage
the
door there.
Fillmore in the 60s.
Say it again?
I got to see them at the Fillmore.
Oh, the
original
Chambers Brothers?
Fillmore.
They sounded great. I wish I
Yeah.
could have seen them. I wish I could have seen them. We didn't even stick around for Journey though, so I just want to see I just want to hear the Chambers Brothers. Okay, kind of an obscure guy. I think he's British. The Sensational Alex Harvey Band.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, he's British.
Another performer. Some really good fundamental rock and roll songs on these albums. Some of it's really funny, and some of it you just don't know whether he's kidding or not. I really like a song on here called "The Last of the Teenage Idols," and he purports to be the narrator of that song. Purports to be the last of the teenage idols. Swamp Snake, let me be your swamp snake till a new one comes along. Giddy Up Ding Dong. Another one that we used to sneak it onto the Cal Poly radio station, Gang Bang. Okay. Nothing subtle about that. We got the Alex Harvey Band and the Impossible Dream. Some great songs on here. Tomahawk Kid, just a fundamental, solid rock and roll song. The Hot City Symphony. It's a song with 3 movements. First one is called Vambo, and that's just this imaginary character that comes to the rescue. Another one that's very eccentric, The Man in the Jar. Have you seen The Man in the Jar? I haven't. River of Love, great stuff. And then before I get to the very last one, there's one more. I don't know if I showed this before. This is a Wall of Voodoo EP, a 12-inch EP with one song on each side. Side one has a song called Mexican Radio, which some of you may have heard.
Yeah.
And the other side, let's see, what is that song called? It's oh yeah. The song is titled There's Nothing on This Side. And it's kind of reminiscent of Metal Machine music, if you know.
Wow.
You remember Metal Machine music. When Lou Reed came out with Metal Machine music, I was just amazed. That was pretty gutsy on his part.
Yeah.
You know. Well, that's what you get when you start messing with creative people. Now, here comes the self-deprecation section of my little segment here. And I think the picture says it all.
Wow.
Uh-huh.
It's the Engelbert Humperdinck White Christmas album. And if you ever want to make people wonder about your own sanity, put this on. Put this on where your I don't know, your kids around, your daughter, your son, or maybe even your own parents. You know, if mine were alive, they would wonder, what the heck happened to Jim? He used to like the Doors. Oh, you got to hear this though. No. Engelbert Humperdinck. There you go. Silver Bells, Winter Wonderland, Silent Night. Have you ever heard the Dickies version of Silent Night?
No.
Pretty good, pretty cool. And that's my part for today. Thanks for your patience and your understanding.
Well, I have some trivia about Flowers.
Good.
That was only released in the U.S. That
Really?
up until 1967, like the Beatles and the Stones and even the Who and the Kinks, different versions of their albums were released in the U.S. and in England. And
the Beatles Revolver was like that.
Yeah, and I mean the most famous one is the Beatles Yesterday and Today, which was composed of the tracks, because the British albums were longer. British albums had like 15 songs and American albums only had 12. So the record companies would take the songs they took off the British albums and combine them with some hit singles and create albums to be released in the US. And that's what Yesterday and Today was. And Flowers was the same thing. That
Yeah.
And you can read it like you read the titles, and like half of those were hit singles.
Yeah.
Were like kind of random stuff plucked off other albums.
And I think I had the British version of Aftermath, and it had the long extended version of Out of Time. That didn't show up until Flowers.
Okay.
In the States.
Yeah, and the British version of Aftermath had Mother's Little Helper on it, I think, right?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know.
Which is not on the American version. So yeah, and that's why the Beatles did that whole butcher cover. Was they're like, your record company is butchering our albums.
I didn't really, there in my neighborhood, in the neighborhood where I grew up, there was kind of like this fragmentation that was defined by musical preferences. Yeah. So there were the kids that liked the Beatles, there were the kids that liked the Stones. I liked them both, but I also liked the Beach Boys, which kind of was an unpopular choice at the time, but I didn't really like the Rolling Stones until Jumpin' Jack Flash came out.
Yeah.
That's I really like that one. And then Exile on Main Street, I think, is a great album.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I became a Stones fan when I saw the movie Gimme Shelter.
Nice.
Because it's got such great live footage.
I did see the Rolling Stones at the LA Coliseum. The opening act was Guns N' Roses, and I think I might have been the only human being there in the crowd without a tattoo.
I saw one of those shows.
Did you?
They did like 6 or 7, so
they were good. Good. And Mick Jagger, that guy is a performer.
Yeah.
He's an entertainer, right down the line. Without the Crazy World of Arthur Brown hat on fire thing.
I was just reading he jogs many miles during the show.
Yeah,
Keeps the weight down, all that running around.
yeah, really.
The
Yeah.
guitar player for AC/DC is like that too.
Oh,
Yeah.
he wears shorts, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. That guy is something.
Yeah, I got born a few years late trivia here for Walla Voodoo.
Yeah.
My sister and I, we were music journalists, and so she had the opportunity to go interview Stan
Oh,
Ridgway
nice.
of Walla Voodoo, and she had me tag along. So we went to his apartment in LA, ring the little buzzer on the door. We went inside there, and he's a very intelligent fellow, very
Yeah.
loquacious young man. And I'm a huge Walla Voodoo fan, so I kind of
Me
just
too.
sat there, couldn't say anything. But like,
One of my favorite concerts of all time, Walla Voodoo, Jane's Addiction, and the Cramps in Tijuana, Mexico.
Wow.
Wow.
perfect place.
They played at a place called Baby Rock. And I'll tell you what, there weren't very many sober people in that place. They just weren't,
Anyway, just to conclude that trivia,
Uh-oh.
by any chance, have you heard of the Index Masters by Walla Voodoo?
No.
Track it down. It's a great album that most people don't know because it's their first EP combined with a live set. And the live set is phenomenal. And it's got a couple songs that aren't on the albums, like Invisible Man. If you like Mexican radio or anything that has wit, you'll love that album.
I really like Stan Ridgway's. I don't know if he has more than one solo album, but the one with Drive, She Said, on there.
Yeah.
And that was his first.
That's a great
yeah.
song. That's his first one. That's a great song, man.
Yet his second solo album is called Mosquitoes. It's even better than the first one.
I'll have to check it out.
It is very good. Very good. There's a song on there, Peg and Pete and Me, about a menage a trois.
I think did he come out? They were contemporaries of X, I think, when around
same
that
time period, early
Yeah,
80s. Yeah.
X plays here once in a while at the Belly Up in Solana Beach, and it's the only time when they won't let you bring a camera in, right? Apparently Exene Cervenka doesn't want her picture taken while she's singing or something like that.
Yeah.
So I kind of it wasn't very nice of me, but I just said, hey, I'll tell you what, my camera's kind of expensive, so here, you can have the battery, without telling them that I did have an extra battery.
Yeah.
That's a great note to end this episode on. For time considerations, that was 2:33.